Welcome, fellow nerds, to this episode of Nerd Shit, hosted by Lord Brad and Riorik, where we discuss all things nerd. Whether it's anime, movies, comic books, video games, Magic the Gathering, or Dungeons & Dragons. If it's nerd, we talk about it. So pull up your favorite chair, pour a glass of mead, and get ready to come and discuss everything nerd shit.
And welcome back to today's episode of Nerd Shit. With us this week, we have not one, but two special guests. A familiar voice that y'all may hear, Vin Wiesel, a.k.a. Cousin Jordan. But the little, gurgling sound you hear is Pebble. Well, who we call Pebble.
I'm glad you opened up, because if you didn't, I was going to open up with, so the new Rock movie sucked. Just to get a rise out of Jordan.
We'll get to it, and we'll discuss its flaws, because let's be honest, there are some flaws. But as we talked about in the last podcast, we were all going to go watch the movie, and we were going to come back together, and we were going to discuss the movie, kind of our review of it, things like that. We were of our word. Vin's here, Vin Wiesel, and we've all seen, the three of us have seen Black Adam now. And we're going to talk about it. Why don't we start off with that, and then we'll get into our other stuff later. Because one of the other things we want to talk about today, and Vin, you haven't gotten a chance to check this out yet, but Lord Brad and I, we got to get our hands on some demo cards for a new trading card game, kind of like Magic the Gathering and Netrunner and Digimon and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And we kind of want to talk through that demo a little bit, but let's start off with Black Adam, since we got Vin Wiesel and Pebble with us.
So how do you want to start? Do you want to start with all the praise coming from Vin Wiesel, or until we knock it down, or do you want us to knock it down and hear Vin Wiesel try and defend it?
Let's start with our guest. We invited him here to talk about Black Adam. We did not invite him here to be our dumping ground for Black Adam.
Oh, there's not much. It's just I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I know. So and originally we had planned for the three of us to go see the movie together, but through extenuating circumstances, Vin ended up having to go watch it on his own. So we really haven't had a chance to talk to Vin a lot about it either.
No, which is why I really want to hear his opinion.
So then shut up and let me pass the mic off to Vin, so Vin can tell us his thoughts and impressions on Dwayne Johnson as DC's Black Adam. Take it away, Vin.
Start out with, actually, Pebble did join me on the movie. Future advice, don't take a toddler into a movie theater that's 2 hours long.
No way.
But what I did get to, watch of it when I wasn't a screaming baby in my ear. I will say that this movie was 15 years in the making. He was, announced as Black Adam, 15 years ago. And I think he even made a post about it showing how young he looked. He actually had hair back when they announced it.
So let me interrupt you there, because that brings up an interesting point that's going to play into something that I'm going to talk about later. So Black Adam was announced 15 years ago. That makes that announcement from 2007. The DC Extended Universe, their cinematic universe, didn't officially launch until 2013. So 9 years ago is when the DCEU opened up. But you're saying this movie's been on the books and in some form of development for 15 years?
Yeah, so The Rock was actually a producer in Black Adam, and he's always made it known that, that's his hero, that's his passion project. And so he had announced it, way back when, before, like you said, the DC even started making movies. I'm not even sure why, it didn't come out for 15 years. It had, several delays, probably with, COVID and everything going on. But the reason I'm even bringing that up is because to talk about, my opinion on the movie, I kind of feel like it was made, maybe they had ideas for it, and then it almost feels like it was copied and pasted from 15 years ago. because I feel like 15 years ago, it would have a good pop, and be praised a little bit more because I've seen some bad things on it. But personally, I enjoyed it.
Well, so aside from just the general enjoyment of it, if you had to say there were negative parts to the movie, what would you probably criticize the hardest? Specifically, would you criticize a particular actor in a role? Would you criticize a particular plot point?
So
What
as far as
what
the
negative would you
entire,
what?
the biggest negative I would say is storytelling for sure. On the storytelling side of it, I personally feel like, I was hooked in. Obviously, huge fan of The Rock. He kept feeding this anti-hero, this story of the anti-hero, and I feel like we could have seen more of that. I feel like there could have been I feel like there was a whole lot of things going on in the movie story-wise that it was just like something was missing the whole time. I mean, the action for me, I think for anybody, the action in it was great, and I think that's what really made the movie, good in my perspective. I mean, especially a fan of The Rock, and if you're a fan of The Rock watching it, you kind of have his humor in there, and then he's sitting there beating up bad guys left and right. I mean, that was fun.
So you're saying from a storytelling perspective, they did not explore the true dark side of this anti-hero character, because let's face it, he's in the comic books, he's a lot more brutal than what they portrayed on the movie.
Yeah. So also on talking on that, this was originally also supposed to be rated R. I feel like maybe if they would have taken that and made it rated R, and he actually killed people, then because they kind of teased it in the movie where he's like, I kill people. You never actually saw him kill anybody.
Well, you kind of did, but
you did, but I mean, there was a few Mortal Kombat style fatalities, but like there was certain instances where he's talking to the good guys, and then he playfully is like, I'm gonna kill him. The hero saved him. He's like, I set it up that way. I just feel like there could have been a little bit more brutality to where like you really set up that story of what makes a hero versus an anti-hero. Because if you actually look at it, heroes have killed people.
Oh yeah,
Man, someone who was in the movie, not really a spoiler anymore, but Man of Steel, he killed somebody in Man of Steel. So is it really, an anti-hero? I just feel like maybe killing people doesn't make him an anti-hero. You know what I'm saying?
well, I think what made him an anti-hero wasn't necessarily his level of brutality, but his justification for fighting.
Well, in the comic book, why he's an anti-hero is because he just kind of does whatever is better for his country. Like he'll partner with Lex Luthor and crap like that because he's helping make his country better, and he don't care about the Justice League or anything like that. He'll fight them if that means at least his group of people is better.
Yeah, well, and like I said, that kind of goes to justification,
Yeah.
right? A hero they're all about justice and fighting evil, whereas anti-heroes, they tend to be more about vengeance and working with whoever helps them achieve that goal of vigilante justice.
It's
almost
more selfish, as you could say.
It's more rage driven.
Yeah.
But okay, so storytelling, and yeah, I mean rated R, I get that. What do you think was your most positive takeaway from the movie? What surprised you the most that made you go ooh?
So for me personally, I try to go in there no spoilers. As a fan of The Rock and waiting for this movie for so long, I feel like I didn't want anything to spoil it for me. And I want to say a couple days before I saw that Superman came in, I love little crack jokes. Where in the middle of it, it's kind of destroying a Superman poster. I thought that was pretty funny. So like little comedic things like that, and a bad guy would try and take on Black Adam, and he just toss him. I think there's an instance where he's fighting somebody, and he's like, did you keep a hostage so we can interrogate him? And he's like, "You didn't kill him, did you?" And then he's like, kind of looking, and you hear the guy finally, land from where he tossed him,
Yeah.
Far in the distance, and you just hear the splat. And it's like,
He didn't make
yeah, he didn't make it. So there's a fun, action comedy scenes that I enjoyed. I think there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like for me, talking about nerd stuff, and loving the gym. I love that he, I love that it was an actual passion project, and I saw it, and then he actually worked out to be in the role and not worry about putting paddings, in his suit like the Shazam guy did. Zachary Levi in the majorly padded suit.
He was padded, but he actually bulked up a little bit for that role.
Well,
Sounds
it's
like
not the
you're just
fact that he
hating on a
didn't.
better Shazam.
Well, I will say that something also excited me as well is while the storytelling wasn't great, I think it was a good enough movie to where, like, even if somebody I don't think you should write it off, even if it wasn't the best thing to you, because I think it's building a lot for the DCU. I think it's a great Phase 1.
Oh yeah.
Like you got Superman coming in. There's supposed to be multiple Superman fights, and then as long as Shazam keeps doing well, like y'all said, Shazam's the best DC. I think the two Shazams going together, I feel like that there's promise
I like
there.
Black Adam more than anything else DC's done. I think Black Adam's my number 2.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that too. Okay. So now we've heard a little bit of Vin's thoughts on it. LBB, what you got?
Oh, I liked Doctor Fate. I know Jordan doesn't, but I thought the movie, like, I feel like the original part of the movie was supposed to be Doctor Fate versus Black Adam, just to show the power of Black Adam, and that it's two magic people in the DC universe, which is kind of rare to see because everyone else is like, gods or like have regular superpowers. Magic isn't that big of a thing that you see most of. Like, there's like 3 heroes I can think of, and those two are one of them.
See, and I like the fact that you bring up magic because Superman's like, oh, we need to have a talk and all that kind of crap.
And
at the end.
Superman's weak to magic. Yeah, that's why I liked it.
Oh, don't show up being all bully. He's got your main weakness or one of your main weaknesses.
Yeah, the one
I was
that's
gonna say,
totally exploited.
talking about that too, something about Doctor Fate. I saw a lot of people criticize Doctor Fate, saying that he was too much like Doctor Strange, with all of his powers
Well,
and
it's
stuff.
because those are Marvel tards that are like.
But that was a lot of the reviews, and honestly, for me, like I didn't care. I'm not a big Doctor Strange person. I enjoyed Doctor Fate. The only thing that I hated about it was I felt like there wasn't really enough. I mean, I feel like he shined in the movie. He did really well, but like I feel like there could have been more. I just feel like there was so much to cram in a 2-hour movie.
Well, anybody that criticizes a character from DC as being a ripoff of Marvel or in Marvel being a ripoff of DC, you could make that argument for pretty much every character. Oh, Iron Man's just a ripoff of Batman. Oh, Aquaman's just a ripoff of Namor. I mean, that's the thing is DC and Marvel have been competing comics for decades. And it's not uncommon for one of them to release a new character and for the other one to go, well, we need something that's, kind of an equivalent to that. That they've been competing. Their characters are very similar for a purpose. That's the way they were designed when they were writing the comics. So, of course, when you look at the movies, they're going to be similar to each other. You're going to be able to draw those comparisons. And that's not a knock on DC or the DC movies. And that's not a knock on the Marvel movies. They're basing it off of the comics that share those parallels.
Yeah, and basically it just comes down to which character do you like more? Do you like the old man tied by magic to see the future, or the other old man that just casually does it because he has an item that lets him do it?
Yeah.
They're two different people.
They are, but I mean, you can see the similarity in their powers.
Oh, yeah.
But I still think they did Fate dirty in the movie.
They underpowered him.
Yeah, because Fate in the comics is way stronger than what he seemed to be in the movie.
Speaking of changes that they did for, like, make it modern, I feel like the Wind Chick in Atom Smasher, I don't think they were originally a part of the cast. I think they were just added in.
Who knows?
They could have been done without the movie, and it would have been the same thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something like you were saying about the the Cyclone and Atom Smasher. I do like the originality. I think that's something that Black Adam did do. The anti-hero Black Adam, his whole love for the anti-hero Black Adam, because he could have went full, evil, kind of like how some of the comic iterations are.
So all I hear you saying is Black Adam is like Deadpool 2.
Kind of,
Deadpool could have went full evil, but the X-Men trainee squad came in and with Negasonic teenage whatever Warhead.
I mean, yeah. I mean, except Deadpool's a little bit different.
It got the R rating.
Yeah.
I got the R rating. And then Ryan Reynolds, them being best buddies, he probably could have made an appearance for Black Adam. It would have been fun to see.
Yeah, but it's Marvel and
yeah,
and
sure actually that would have caused problems.
Hey, I remember there was a video game in like 2011, Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's all kinds of fighting games that have crossovers with DC characters and Marvel characters fighting against Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or each other and things like that. Yeah, that was a big thing in the 90s. But let me ask you this, Vin. In the trailer for Black Adam, there's that scene where he's flying along and like two F-22 Raptors fly up and are talking to him, and he smashes the wing off of that one. Do you remember that in the trailer?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Where the hell was that scene in the movie?
So, whenever he's like straight out of the cave, they finally summon him, and they, it's from his prison, and he comes out. It was right before they had shot him with a rocket, and he ended up hurting himself or whatever.
Okay.
And electricity. It was right before that, but it was a very short thing that I almost missed too, with Pebble being in my ear.
Yeah,
so, but it's a very short scene. They made it seem longer in the trailer. Honestly, I feel like maybe they cut it out or shortened it out.
Yeah, somebody must have been getting up or sitting down or something, and I looked away because I honestly didn't think the scene was even in the movie, because I walked out of the movie going, I didn't see the scene. They cut it. What the hell?
Yeah, there was another one too that I almost thought they cut. There's one where he's fighting Hawkman, and Hawkman hits him across into a building.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they made that trailer look a lot longer than what it was, because it was a very fast, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And, they're like, oh, he got back up, because his people were sitting there supporting him, not wanting to lose. And I felt like that was a very short scene compared to what they showed in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a question, Jordan. In your mind, is it Hawkman or Hawk Girl? Because I grew up with Hawk Girl.
I was about to say, as far as I've ever known or seen, it's always been Hawk Girl. She was,
Yeah, the redhead with
the
the mask and everything. Okay, making sure, because I was like, what?
Well, apparently his weapon transforms, so maybe his biology does too. Or being that this is a modern day movie, Hawk Girl just decided to identify as Hawkman during this period.
Or Hawkman hasn't transitioned yet. He's still finding himself.
Maybe.
We don't know.
That's okay. So this is one of the things that irritated me watching the movie. So Hawkman and Black Adam are fighting, right? Mm-hmm. And he's got his little mace with the spikes that spins around, and he's trying to hit him with it and not having any luck. But later on, when he's fighting the big bad, it transforms into this giant battle axe that he slashes into the dude. He was having way better luck with the battle axe than he was the mace. Why didn't he ever try any of that crap with Black Adam?
See, that's another thing I think. I guess, you bringing it up I'd bring that to the negatives. I feel like the big bad was almost like while he was part of the story, it's almost like he could have been cut out because it was so quick. He
Yes.
like appeared, boom. I mean, because Doctor Fate, sacrificed himself, and
So
then
so LBB and I were actually talking about this earlier, and yeah, we kind of had the same opinion. The big bad could have been cut out. He was completely irrelevant to most of the story. He only showed up for the last few minutes for the big fight. We spent 2 hours of a 2.5 hour movie watching Black Adam fight the Justice Society.
yeah. Well, that's also another thing
we're
is the
talking about
Justice
Black Adam. I thought
Society.
it was Justice League there for a minute.
They obviously had no like possible way of beating Black Adam, and it was something they knew, right? And they kept making that a point. Well, my only thing is, why the heck did Doctor Fate? Why was he the only one to think, oh, Black Adam's our savior, and then released him? I just felt like everything was kind of rushed towards the end. I guess that's part of storytelling, but it's like
Yeah.
Big Bad could have just been cut out almost because I want to say maybe had 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah. Now, have you heard the news that was announced? I want to say yesterday, Tuesday the 25th, that spells some hope or hint of success moving forward for the DC guys.
So I haven't particularly seen any news lately, but as far as I know, there's been a lot of things coming out. Like they got plans for multiple Black Adam movies.
Oh, I'm not talking
Superman.
about I'm not talking about
okay.
specific movies.
Okay.
So you know how Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, is ultimately masterminded by Kevin Feige or whatever his name
I
is.
think it's Kevin
Yeah,
Feige.
Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige.
I think it's Feige.
Yeah, however it's pronounced. So DC has finally decided to follow suit and put all of their stuff under one master plan. And the guy they picked for that is James Gunn, the guy who did Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the guy that's doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and the guy that was behind the most recent Suicide Squad movie for DC.
Speaking of him, I want to say I did see that, but the only issue with that, I would say, is he also announced a Groot standalone movie. He said he wasn't working on anything else until he finishes this Peacemaker coming up in January.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying he's directing all of these movies.
Yeah.
But he's putting together, hey guys, these stories need to line up. These stories need to connect. This is the order that we need to put this stuff out in to get the best impact. Like LBB and I were looking at a timeline earlier. And I think this goes a long way to explain some of the failures of the DC universe.
Well, that's what I was saying about Dwayne Johnson saying this was officially announced as Phase 1, so maybe that has something to do with James Gunn taking control, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, because they've got to reset after this, because like we mentioned earlier, the DCEU officially launched in 2013 with that new Superman movie, right?
Yeah.
So from 2013 until last week with the launch of Black Adam, and those 9 years, DC put out 13 films. And you might look at that and go, 13 films in 9 years, that's a lot. Well, by contrast, Marvel in that same 9-year period put out 23 movies, almost double. Now that doesn't include their Disney shows. That doesn't include their TV shows. Just major theatrical releases. They put out almost twice as many in that same 9-year period. Now, digging deeper into this, of those 13 movies that DC launched in that 9-year period, 2 of them were technically the same movie, because we had Justice League and then Zack Snyder's Justice League. So you basically have the same movie twice. There's 2 Suicide Squad movies, but they're not really connected.
Yeah.
But it's weird that they have the same name. And then the thing that really jumped out at me is you've got Batman versus Superman, you've got 2 Justice Leagues, you've got all the Bruce Wayne appearances, while he's working with Waller to identify all these people and to put them into prison and, to bring all these groups together. And then they bring in the Batman with Robert Pattinson that's completely unconnected to everything else.
Oh, they also released the Joker, which isn't connected to anything else. So there's another movie.
Yeah, but that one apparently is not considered part of the DCEU.
Yeah, it's not. That's its own thing.
So, but
why is that Batman considered the DCEU?
I guess because they're planning to use him moving forward. Batfleck failed, I guess, for whatever reason. So maybe now that they're rebooting things, maybe they're looking to bring in younger.
Well, as far as I know, Batfleck actually said he was done. He appeared for a TV show and said that was his last go. He didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of controversy when they announced, because at one point they were doing a new Batman movie and he was going to play Batman and direct the movie. But after several delays, he was no longer going to play Batman, but he was still going to direct it. And then after some more delays, he was no longer directing it.
It sounds like they just didn't give him a chance, honestly.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. He didn't really even get a chance.
I mean, I liked him in Batman versus Superman, and I liked him in Justice League as Batman. The movies were bad, but I liked him as Batman.
Yeah, he just didn't have a chance to shine.
Yeah, but if you're building out this extended universe through all of these supposedly connected movies, you don't introduce one Batman for 5 movies and then turn around and throw another guy in and say this is Batman. That would be like going all the way through Avengers Ultron with Robert Downey Jr., and then when Avengers Infinity War rolls around, you throw in some new guy half
Ryan
his
Gosling.
age. Yeah, you throw in Ryan Gosling as Iron Man. You're like, whoa, what the hell? Where does this fit?
Well, see, that's
Kind of how
thing I
people
think
felt
about.
about the Hulk.
That's why I feel Black Adam did good, at least for now. It provides a good recharge for DC. Is what I think.
It was a good recharge for DC, but it still suffered from classic DC storytelling problems. And you can look at those movies, those timelines, and you can see where that comes into play too. So like if we look at the 13 movies that DC released, half of them, at least half, and I think we counted 7.
Mm-hmm.
7 of those movies were ensemble movies where most of the ensemble cast had never been introduced in any other movie. Like their first appearance was in that ensemble movie. You didn't know who they were, like Black Adam, for example. Okay, it's a Black Adam movie, cool. But then we're going to spend the majority of the movie with Cyclone, Atom Smasher, Dr. Fate, and Hawkman, who've never even been mentioned in a movie before.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the movie, we've got these 5 quote unquote heroes teaming up as an ensemble to fight this villain. We don't really know anything.
Much as I love Black Adam, that's why I said the one thing I can't stand is they introduced those people, which I feel like was a Suicide Squad thing. Suicide Squad 2, you had a whole group of heroes who I had no idea who they were. and they kill him
Yeah.
in the first 5 seconds. You know, it made for great fun. It's like I don't know who the hell those are, and then they announce the other heroes, and I'm like, I still don't know who the heck these guys are because there's so much going on. Like,
Yeah.
you just don't know it, and that's
But-
you know.
But you spend so much time. You spend so much time with those people, and you don't really understand them. You don't really know them. You don't really get connected to them. And one of the other points LBB and I had today was Black Adam was fighting the Justice Society, and even the character in the movie called out the huge plot hole with that. Hey, look, we've been living under an oppressive, abusive, murderous dictatorship for the last 20 years. Where the hell has the Justice Society been? Now that we finally have somebody standing up for us, you show up to shut him down. How is that justice? You're promoting a dictatorship over freedom.
Yeah, and my other point on that was they thought he was just a legend and a myth anyways. So they're reading about how, he was like this great destroyer. They don't know if he's actually a hero because they didn't think he even existed.
I was
You talking about the Justice
Yeah, the
Society?
Justice Society.
But the
yeah.
Justice Society said that they had they had information that nobody else knew about. They had secret information, so they did know.
But they thought he was just a myth. They even said that line. They thought he didn't even exist.
True.
I was gonna say for me, so my wife hated the movie. She hated every ounce of it. She said it was the most boring thing. She said Jungle Cruise was better.
She said what was better?
She said Jungle Cruise was better than
No. You mean the Mummy in South America?
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so along that line, so it came out that Black Adam wasn't the original hero the whole time. He was actually the dad protecting, or the uncle, right? No, he was the dad.
Well, in the movie he was the dad, but in the comic book it's the uncle.
Yeah, so in the movie he's the dad, and it was his son who gave up his power to protect his father, and then his dad, in a fit of rage, I guess that's where the anti-hero comes in. In a fit of rage, instead of providing justice and stuff, he went ahead and did what he wanted to do and just obliterated the whole conduct. And the thing that just bothers it for me, the thing that bothered me was, I just feel like even though it was a Black Adam movie, there still wasn't enough of Black Adam because there was so much going on. Like, for me, even though The Rock loved his throne sitting, I just felt like it just wasn't right for him to sit on the throne quite yet. I was like, I don't know.
Well, he even said
it
that.
was such an epic moment. It was such an epic moment, but I was like, I know he crushed it or whatever. It's not it. It's not time.
Well, for me, I think if you're going to call the movie Black Adam, it needs to be about Black Adam.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to be about Black Adam, the Justice Society, the inner gang group, the mining of this ore, and this crown, and all this other stuff going on. Because when we look at Iron Man, it was about Tony Stark, how he became Iron Man, and how he used his Iron Man ability to go out and fight against the corruption that created him.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at Captain America, it was all about Steve Rogers, how he became Captain America, and how he grew from being a propaganda machine to actually fighting Red Skull. When you look at Thor, it's who was Thor, his growth as a character to go from a fallen god back to a restored god with purpose and worthiness, and then he fought the big bad. There wasn't all this other shit in the way. They were focused stories on those characters.
But a film like that doesn't focus on diversity.
There's no reason why it couldn't.
That's just their mind. They have to add more diversity.
So here's
They
my
had to introduce characters that aren't needed.
But and I think you and I kind of talked a little bit about this too. When you throw in characters like that, where you've got all this random stuff going on with all these people in there, the movies don't do as well. And Marvel learned that with the Eternals, because the Eternals is the most DC-like movie in the Marvel lineup, and it's also one of their worst.
It's an ensemble film with people you don't know, and
Mhm.
that are apparently should have been relevant beforehand, but they weren't.
Mm-hmm. And they were nowhere to be found in current events.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got the same problem with DC and all their stuff, and you kind of can circle that back around, unfortunately, to Black Adam. Well, no, not really, because he was asleep. He was imprisoned until recently, so never mind. That's fine. He didn't factor into Justice League because he was still asleep at Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
We assume
he has an excuse.
Yeah, he has an excuse, but it's still.
It's also pre Shazam because he's the original wizard. So
no, there can still be two Shazams because he killed the gods that made the old wizard have to look for new gods to create Shazam. Still Shazam, but his power.
I was gonna say he is Shazam, but Black Adam's supposed to be the original one.
But
Shazam
there are two Shazams.
For. Yeah, there is.
There are technically two at a time because there are two different versions with two different sections of gods.
But
because Shazam's has like Solomon and stuff like that, that has nothing to do with Black Adam. He has no idea who those gods are.
Yeah. But I was trying to tell you, so the iteration that the Rock's wanting to portray, the Zachary Levi Shazam is supposed to eventually tie in, which would be Black Adam as the first one that made the mistake, and then Shazam, which they're trying to just make a Black Adam origin movie first. That way, eventually it builds up. But I mean, they could have had, but they had Amanda Waller, so Amanda Waller could have had Justice League. I don't know. There's a lot of things I felt they could have done. Like Justice League could have been the one to stop because they could have had the big bad the whole time because he was the original, king of Kahndaq, right? And I feel like that was necessary for the movie. Like obviously the big bad needs to be in there because if there's not terror going on there, what is Black Adam to be resurrected for, right? Because he's not a hero, he's not going for justice. So he doesn't care about what's going on anywhere else besides where he's at. So the big bad needed to be there. But, like, if he's being the anti-hero and killing people, I think someone needs to be there to say, hey, that's not how you should be doing this, right? Maybe just the execution in itself was terrible. And maybe they could have used, the actual Justice League instead of Justice League Society or whatever. I mean,
well, how would they have had the Justice League come in? Because at that time, Henry Cavill was done with Superman. Batfleck was out. But they hadn't established Robert Pattinson yet. They were in a lawsuit with Ray Fisher over Cyborg. Ezra Miller's gone crazy with Flash. The only Justice League member that they reasonably had access to that had been established at that point was Wonder Woman.
Aquaman.
Well, yeah, Aquaman, I guess. But, I mean, Aquaman in a desert, that seems kind of counterproductive, doesn't it?
A little bit. But that's why I also feel like maybe – I really feel like they tried here. I really do. I really want to – I refuse to believe that they just, went with the best. I think there's promise here. I really do.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to defend it at all. Like, really. I'm just trying to say maybe they did what they could do right now. And I think there's promise with especially how much The Rock has fought for Henry Cavill to come back as Superman. Because if you go back, he had no interest in Superman. And then every time leading up to here, they'd be like, is Black Adam going to fight Superman? And he's like, it depends on who Superman is. Because if it's not Henry Cavill, I'm going to whip their ass. And it's like, no.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and that's all true. And I'm not trying to say that they didn't try. I'm just saying that they fell into the old DC trap of here's a bunch of people you don't know. We're going to try and make you care about them by doing something that seems really impractical from a story perspective, and then at the very end we're going to go fight somebody else and you're going to go home happy. Well, no, because we just go home confused.
It literally here's the perfect Black Adam movie. Black Adam comes in, starts terrorizing stuff because get these people out of here, all right? And then the crown still ends up in the bad guy's hands because Black Adam's not used to the new world. Boom, becomes Satan. Gets the crown. Black Adam kills him because he's Black Adam. Comes back, now he has to fight the big bad. Just Black Adam fighting the big bad. Everything else is still the same. Later, Shazam comes in because Black Adam is the counterpart to Shazam, and or something.
Well,
You gotta have
to your degree, yes. If they had made this all about Black Adam waking up, coming to terms with the new world, and having to fight, and then at the end of the movie have the Justice Society show up,
yeah,
going, "Hey, we detected some crazy shit going on over here, and we want to check it out." Oh, well, we kind of saw the tail end of how that went, and bro, that's really not what we would like for you to do. We might need to have a chat.
yeah, and
See, it's funny that you say that. So something I was thinking about in my head. This is what I thought the movie was going to be, because I did not watch anything on it really besides the trailer they put out. Here's what I thought was going to happen. When you say anti-hero, I thought, he's picked, right? He's champion. He's been enslaved. Originally from the trailer, it looked like his son had powers or something. Had already been chosen. The son gets killed, and the powers pass on to him, which I was kind of right there. But then he's imprisoned for some reason. Then he wakes up, big bad's taken over, yada yada, and all he knows is his son was killed by this guy. So he's focused on revenge. Takes over, completely obliterates everything in his way to stop the slavery, right? But it's not the right way. So he sits on the throne, and then, like you said, the Justice League Society comes, and boom, they're like, hey, while you did take these people out of, trying times, you killed a lot of people, and what you did is pretty fucked up.
You broke a lot of rules.
Yeah, you broke a lot of codes and rules. You kill everybody.
That was just a suggestion to you.
So, especially if you kill them in brutal ways too. Like if they, like I said with the rated R thing, if they showed how he just, ripped people in half and blood and guts everywhere and slaughtered the whole battlefield all by himself, and he's like, especially because they're humans, right? So a typical hero is not just gonna brutally, kill humans. So he's killing the human army, and then the big bad, ripping the bad guy in half though, I feel like was a good scene.
Yeah, but I think it would have made a much better story if the Justice Society or even the Justice League or even just Shazam would have been the post scene kind of thing.
Or they could have done a half-assed, even shitty JSA movie, and then JSA appears here.
Well, but that leads into the other problem of, okay, we're going to throw out an ensemble movie full of people you don't know about.
But if you already knew who JSA was prior, and then you bring Black Adam.
But this goes back to the DC versus Marvel process. If you look at the Marvel movies in the order that they were released, we met Iron Man not in one movie but two movies before his first ensemble appearance. We met Hulk before an ensemble appearance. We met Thor before an ensemble appearance. We even met Black Widow in an ensemble appearance.
Before.
So what?
You said before an ensemble.
Before an ensemble appearance. So by the time the first Avengers movie, and Captain America, we met Captain America. So by the time the first Avengers movie came around, the only real Avenger we didn't know was Hawkeye.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you look at it from where Marvel saw their greatest success, they introduced the individual characters and then brought them together, whereas DC is going at it from the opposite. Hey, here's this ensemble movie. and then now we're going to show you their origins.
Or pick your favorites. We'll make an origin movie. Woo, let's play this game. Oh, you don't like any of them? All right, we're gonna do another ensemble movie.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you see,
So
that's
just,
something I was trying to tell you about was, I don't even know if I said it in the text, but I just thought of it. Like, I feel like maybe because, Marvel started, years ago. I don't even know when Iron Man started, but that was like the OG hero movie. I still watch it.
2008.
Damn.
2008.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, so
watched
Marvel
that
had
Iron
a
Man
5-year
movie.
jump.
I've watched that Iron Man movie a couple times on Disney Plus. I love Iron Man. The first one's really good. Still, anyways, I feel like maybe DC thinks they're behind because Marvel took their time and, like you were saying, they made each individual hero and then ensemble appearance. Which, to me personally, Avengers kind of sucked. It's kind of slow because you had to get the team together, right? You had to get the motivation. But then they had the big old, the big phase where it was, Infinity War, Endgame, all that good stuff. And they had a great ending. I think it ended beautifully. And personally, everything sucked since then, to me at least. I haven't really been interested in too much.
Well, but yeah, DC was definitely behind the ball.
I feel like they're trying to play catch up, and then you have somebody like The Rock trying to revitalize it, but he's a busy guy. I mean, he's put out so many movies in between then.
I don't know that I would call it a revitalization if his movie was announced 15 years ago, 6 years before they launched their cinematic universe. I don't consider that a revitalization. Yeah, that movie's probably been revamped and rewritten multiple times.
Because 15 years ago, first of all, when he's in WWE, you're stuck with WWE. All these other wrestlers know that too. Like, John Cena doing Peacemaker, Guardians of the Galaxy, Batista. Batista had to walk out of WWE to be drafted. Like, there's just so much going on that I don't know. Maybe DC, maybe they can get it right. I feel like there's a chance.
This is their chance to catch up.
Yeah,
now, Marvel's no one's really gives a shit anymore, and
I won't say that it's not because nobody gives a shit about Marvel. It's that Marvel is moving into their fringe phases where Marvel expects to be bringing in people we don't know. Because all the classics, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Scarlet Witch, all those have kind of run their tenure.
Well,
Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man for 10 years. So these guys are starting to fade. That's a lot to do, and that's a lot to keep up with, and they're not really getting to explore other projects the way they want to. So they're not gonna make that same role in that same movie for 40 years.
Yeah.
Let's face it. So they have to phase those out, and you don't recast those iconic characters. You replace them with someone new, and that's why we're getting Ironheart. That's why we're getting, a new Black Panther stuff. They're bringing in all these other things. So yeah, Marvel is fading because they're losing out on the mainstream characters. DC can catch up.
I watched She-Hulk, right? I feel like the storytelling.
I'm sorry.
Is still pretty bad.
Well, we can do a whole episode on the ending of She-Hulk. Like, I know about it.
I haven't watched any of it yet. I still haven't watched it.
Season. I'm talking about the whole thing. I mean, a whole lot of nothing. And then what's weird is so each iteration of Hulk is the Hulk that we see. So the Hulk from who's the first guy that did Hulk?
Eric Bana or Lou Ferrigno? Are you talking about like the original Hulk from the 70s?
No,
he's talking about
the first movie.
Eric Bana.
TV series.
Edward Norton.
Eric Bana.
No, he came after Eric Bana.
Yeah, so Edward Norton, he's Abomination, right? So
no,
Eric.
No.
Right?
No. It was some British guy that became Abomination.
Well, Eric Bana's the one that fought. I mean,
he's asking who fought.
Edward Norton is the one.
Edward
was
Norton.
the Hulk who fought Abomination.
Yes. So the British guy fought that Hulk, right? But Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is the one that fought. Like the way they were telling the story, it was Mark Ruffalo's Hulk that fought Abomination.
Well, so if you look at Marvel's cinematic lineup, the Edward Norton Hulk movie is technically considered part of the MCU, but they did have to recast him because I think when they first started putting that movie together, they didn't realize the MCU. So after the fact, after everything started coming out, going, yeah, we're going to do more and we're going to do more. We're going to do more. Edward Norton was like, I can't commit to that. I've already got these other commitments, stuff like that. And they didn't have a choice at that point, but to bring in Ruffalo, or maybe it was just everybody downed Norton's version of Hulk that they felt they needed to recast him. But technically that movie is part of the MCU. So it would make sense that they would make that distinction that Hulk fought that Abomination, even though it's a different person.
Yeah, I was like, it's just so weird. But yeah, it was strange. So anyway, she's a lawyer. She has to do a case for him, and it's what's the word for it? Yeah. Anyway, she couldn't do. She couldn't really do it because her cousin had caught him, and it was not right or whatever. But she still took the case. And I was just like, that's weird. But there was a whole lot of nothing in it. I mean, and then she worked with Megan Thee Stallion. So,
I saw.
I'm not like when I see a superhero movie. I mean, I didn't mind the whole she's a lawyer and a superhero, and they put into that. But I'm just like, look, I want to sit here and see stuff, and then she smashed Daredevil.
Well, so you bring up an interesting point, and that is the distinction between the TV show stories and the movie stories. And I really think that the movies have had more attention paid to their stories than the TV shows. Captain America or not Captain America, the Winter Soldier and the Falcon.
Yeah,
it was an interesting show because it showed, Bucky dealing with his past, trying to make amends with the people he hurt as the Winter Soldier, while it showed Falcon struggling with the realities of being an unpaid public figure, but having all this financial strain and family stress that he was dealing with behind the scenes. So I mean, I think it was a good personal story, but it wasn't a good story.
gotcha.
I didn't like the overall story for it. Loki was interesting that it had, it was just kind of cool the way it kind of told some of the stories, but the storytelling wasn't great. Really outside of, God, dang it. What was the first one? Was it WandaVision? What
WandaVision.
WandaVision?
No. Moon Knight.
No, Moon Knight was recent. And Moon Knight, as much as I love Moon Knight, it suffered from storytelling too, because I don't think they did that character justice. I think they convoluted it too much. But I mean, it is hard to tell a story about a guy that has multiple personalities, I guess. But yeah, I haven't been as impressed with the stories of the TV shows as I have the movies. Let's just put it that way.
Well, personally, I quit watching movies after Endgame. I love the Spider-Man movies. Such a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I watched it. I mean, I enjoyed even Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man before. It was cool to like him too. But I like the original Spider-Man. I even like Spider-Man 3. I don't care what anybody says, especially when he comes out and he's Fully Maguire. You can't say that's not comic book.
I do love those Bully Maguire memes and videos.
People are always like, "Oh man, it's so cringe." I loved every second of it. I don't care what you say.
Well, I mean, we are fans of bad movies, so even bad movies are good movies to us.
I mean, even there, they had a little bit going on there too. Sandman, Venom, and Green Goblin Jr. was a little bit much for the movie, but it's still good.
Yeah. Now you're pulling way back into the movie banks though, because I mean those Spider-Mans are old by today's standards.
Well, what's interesting is that the multiverse brought those kind of into the MCU.
Yeah.
So I guess that would make Toby. Would that make Toby the first MCU movie?
Well, no. I mean, so those movies were made by Sony.
Yeah, but they were technically brought in with the MCU.
The identities have been brought into the MCU, but those movies are not part of the MCU. It's kind of like Hugh Jackman joining Deadpool. We're bringing Wolverine and the X-Men into the MCU via Deadpool, but we're not bringing all of those X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, all that stuff in. Because
it's kind of like when Deadpool mentions the other version of Deadpool, where he's Weapon X in the Deadpool movie, but it's not actually like canon, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But he's like, hey.
So those were just experiences of other characters in a different universe. They're not part of this universe. Now, you might be able to say they're part of the MC multiverse, but they're not part of the MC universe.
Fair enough.
No. Anyway, all right. So, do you know what movie Dwayne has coming up next?
So he's got some holiday movie coming out, actually. I want to say it's called Red. Let me look it up.
Oh, doesn't him and Ryan Reynolds have Red Notice 2 or something like that coming out soon?
They do have Red Notice 2 coming out, but I want to say it's a different little holiday movie he's got coming out. And his daughter did make her WWE debut.
I saw that. But, well, you know what? Instead of worrying about what movies he's got coming up, let's cut to brass tacks here. When we left off last time, we were trying to figure out which Brendan Fraser movie Black Adam would be like. And we had narrowed it down to like Sinbad, Monkey Bone, and Encino Man. Having watched Black Adam, where do you cast your vote now?
So, I'm still going to have to defend my Monkey Bone.
On the grounds of?
So, hear me out on this Monkey Bone story, right?
It's been a while since I've watched Monkey Bones, but,
So,
go ahead.
What I remember of Monkey Bone, Brandon Fraser, I think he's in a dream. It's a dream world, and he's trying to escape, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, that's where, Black Adam comes in. He's trapped, just like Brandon Fraser was, but in a prison. Instead of a dream, it's a prison. He's got that little monkey character or whatever, kind of guides him around. That's like the kid that follows him around the whole movie, right? I think we can all agree that sometimes kids can be monkeys. I got one over here that's been monkeying around in the background for, an hour.
Yeah.
But basically, the little kid's the monkey, and after he's woken up from his dream, wreaks havoc. I want to say there was some havoc going on in the little dream world going on, and then he come back to reality, and now Black Adam's reality is that bad guy's gone, still Monkey Bone.
See, and I'm gonna have to defend my Encino Man. In Encino Man, he was frozen for thousands of years in the earth, and he was ultimately awakened by someone in need. Because Pauly Shore was just, oh, check it out, it's cool. They were in need because they were the outcast, right? So they needed that social acceptance, and out came their champion. They defrosted their champion from his earthly imprisonment, and once he got out into the world, people were trying to dethrone him, because he came out and he was putting on displays of excellence that were showing up the others around them. He was standing up to the bullies, partly because of his own ignorance of what was going on, but still, he was still standing up to the bullies and thwarting their attempts at oppressing others. So people were trying to put him down, and that's not the way this does, and you can't be doing that, and who are you to tell me how to do things, and blah 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 blah. And he was defending his friends who were being picked on by the bad people, and he ultimately took them down and helped his friends get out from underneath their oppressive bullying and become socially free. It's in Black Adam is Encino Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
But speaking of, this is, that Black Adam's actually the biggest box office for The Rock.
The biggest box office, yeah.
Yeah, the biggest box office. So while people can hate it and anything The Rock does.
Well, I think the box office success is largely because The Rock is popular.
Yeah.
A lot of his recent movies, even the ones that are on Netflix, have been entertaining, big draws. People are enjoying them, so people want to go watch that. Then you've got people who are fans of comic books and superhero movies who like to go watch stuff like that. Then you've got people who know Black Adam and go like, oh my God, this could be awesome. Black Adam's such a kick-ass character that they want to go watch that. And then there's people that go, oh, Black Adam is like the reverse version of Shazam, and Shazam was really cool. So there's all these little components that draw different people in to make it a big movie. Plus, there just really hadn't been a lot of big superhero movies. We had Thor, Love and Thunder a couple of months ago, and damn, that was really it. I don't remember a lot of other superhero movies this year.
Yeah, I don't know much about this year. I know there was, like Black Widow and little ones like that. But I didn't watch any of those, so I don't know when it came out.
Robert Pattinson's Batman dropped early this year, and nobody really cared about that.
Yeah, actually, that Batman did drop while I was in AIT. People
I want to say
liked it. A lot of sergeants over there liked it.
I watched it and I liked it. I thought it was good. I can appreciate R. Pat's version of Bruce Wayne and Batman, and I saw a lot of parallels between some of the fighting styles and character designs between that movie and the Arkham Knight games, which I thought was a nice touch. But to me, that movie did not belong in the DCEU because it was not connected to anything else. It was a new Batman. It was a new Alfred. It was an all new background that didn't tie back into Wonder Woman, didn't tie into the Justice League, didn't tie into Batman versus Superman. It didn't tie into the Suicide Squads. It was a completely DCEU adjacent movie for me, kind of like the Joker.
Yeah, I watched part of the Batman. I didn't care for it. I did like the idea of a, darker Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed pretty cool, and the whole Kurt Cobain idea for it, but I just couldn't get behind it.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Well, okay, so Doctor Strange in the Multiverse actually shows as being launched this year. I thought that was
Yeah.
last year, but
I didn't
maybe
watch that one.
maybe it was meant to be last year and it got pushed to this year, and that's why I was thinking that. I went and watched it. It was interesting. It was strange, but it's a Doctor Strange movie, so I guess you kind of have to accept that. Yeah,
Yeah, I know a lot of people hate on the CGI.
yeah, but I mean, that means that other than Black Adam, there's only been 3 other superhero movies that have launched this year, and the only one that had really any buzz around it was Thor: Love and Thunder, because Thor Ragnarok was so popular, and they were bringing back Jane Foster as Lady Thor, which had a lot of people going, "Ooh, I wonder how they're going to pull this off."
Yeah, I wasn't honestly. I don't even remember what got me back into it. When they announced Jane Foster, I was like, "Oh hell no! How are you gonna bring somebody that hasn't even been in the movies just randomly to become Thor?"
Well,
That's just how I felt.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to speculate on why she wasn't there and why she came back and all that. I mean, you could argue money, you could argue time, you could argue, creative differences. Think about all the different directors that trash the Marvel movies for, oh, that's just cinematic garbage, and movies for you know, adolescents and adults who don't want to grow up. They're not real movies. I mean, directors. There's a lot of directors that hate on the Marvel movies.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say. There's a lot of people that hate on, several different things like Marvel. Some people hate on DC in general. Some people hate on The Rock in particular. I mean, they're like, oh, everything he does is the same. A lot of things saying he was charmless here. I mean, a lot of things. I feel like the reason I at least like him and people like Ryan Reynolds is I feel like when they're in their roles, they're an authentic version of themselves. So it's like, I appreciate that. I mean, some people don't like that because they want to see an actual actor who acts. But it's like, I also want to see something where it's like, I just want to see you, who I'm a fan of.
I want to see people play to their strengths, right?
Yeah.
And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is this big old muscle bound former football player, former wrestler, action guy. I want to see him running around, roughing people up. I don't want to see him trying to play Macbeth in a Shakespearean drama. That's not his strength. At the same time, I don't want to see Gary Oldman, who's a classically trained actor, trying to be Black Adam. Actors have their strengths, and they're going to play to that. Oh, I don't want to be typecast as an action guy. Dude, you're 6'6", 300 pounds with 30-inch biceps. What else do you think you're gonna be?
Well, I was gonna say that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. People didn't really hate on him, at least that I know of, for him playing.
Oh yeah, they hated on him.
Oh really? Yeah. See,
oh
I
yeah.
just know that the "I'll be back" is like iconic, and it's like all he is. I mean, literally, that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's nothing other than himself.
So when he first did the Conan movies back in the 70s, early 80s, whatever, yeah, people were shitting on him really hard because he was still learning English. He had a super thick accent. They had to really work with him on his pronunciation and his diction for saying things. He'd never been in an action movie before. He'd never been in really a major motion picture before. So everybody was hating on him about, oh, you cast this big unknown, muscle bound beefhead to do this. Today's equivalent of, oh, you just got some dumb gym bro.
Yeah.
So people were hating on him, and the movies are considered classics, but they weren't blockbusters really at the time.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew who Arnold Schwarzenegger was. Everybody was hating on him for being this unknown guy that you couldn't understand. But the action sequences and the fighting sequences were really good. So the people that watched it and appreciated it for what it was really got behind it. Oh man, this dude's pretty cool to watch. Then Terminator came around. I'll be back. Oh man, that's just a cool line. And it was just a good story. And he played to his strengths because here he was, this robot that could just toss people around. So his size and his power really played to that visual, right? You know, and that kind of really cemented himself as an action role. And then you started getting movies like Commando and Running Man, all those different action movies. And that's just what he's known for. You don't see Arnold Schwarzenegger in a serious movie.
But you can't deny Twins is a good one.
No, Twins is a good one. It gave Arnold a little bit of time to exercise some of his comedic chops opposite Danny DeVito, but the story still called for that dichotomy in their size to play into Arnold's immense size and his defense of Danny DeVito.
Like The Rock's Jumanji, basically. Kevin Hart.
Yeah. The whole Kevin Hart, The Rock thing. But so I mean, it was a comedy, but it was still an action comedy. The same thing for Kindergarten Cop. The same thing for Jingle All the Way, his Arnold's Christmas movie.
Yeah, his Christmas movie.
The same thing for True Lies. Once he started getting his acting feet under him and he started growing in popularity, they could put him into some of these comedic roles where he wasn't necessarily a comedian or a comedic actor, but they could pair him off with other comedic actors and have him do some comedy, but a lot of action and get a lot of draw because it was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And they can do the same thing with The Rock, except The Rock can pull off comedy a lot easier. He's got a lot more. I'm not going to say Arnold's not charismatic, but The Rock, Dwayne, is more naturally charismatic, and it may just be because English is more of a natural language to him than it was for Arnold.
I was also going to say there's a knack for, wrestling, cutting promos. You kind of need the charisma to be in front of, millions of people in the middle of a stadium.
Yeah.
Smack Talk's always been one of his big things. I mean,
yeah.
Even in Black Adam, he kind of had his typical, The Rock Smack Talk. Which, talking about The Rock, I mean, it's a brand, that's not his name, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, he still carries his WWE name, which, to be a wrestler, you gotta have the charisma and the showman.
Yeah. All right. Well, Vin, I think we're going to call it there and stop. LBB actually had to step out already. So we're going to stop right there. We've talked about Black Adam. I think we all agree that it was a good movie, not a great movie, but it's a
Good action movie.
Yeah, but it's a great opportunity for DC to build from. Yeah. And it's The Rock's version of Brendan Fraser's Encino Man. I'm going to stand by that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, after your explanation, I'll say Monkey Bone took an L.
We could call it a tie. There's elements of both. He's like, man, I there's a lot of Brendan Fraser that I need to do, so I'm gonna take these and merge it into one. Maybe but we could call it a tie.
However, I will say this: if you watch, what's it called, Red Notice, and you rewatch Monkey Bone, you can connect some lines there.
So he's just taking Brendan Fraser's movies and saying, I keep getting accused of straight up ripping Brendan Fraser's movies. So if I take elements, a bit of this Brendan Fraser movie and a bit of this Brendan Fraser movie and a bit of this Brendan Fraser and weave them into one movie, then they'll be harder to pick out because it's not just a direct ripoff of a Brendan Fraser movie. I'm just borrowing Brendan's elements.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you might be onto something.
Speaking of that, I already said that he had already reached out to Brendan Fraser after the whale.
Mm-hmm.
After he made Black Adam. I'm not sure where it's at, but I saw it somewhere online. It was talking about how he was giving praise, saying he should get nominated for the whale, and then he's like, I can't wait to see what movie I can iterate next. And then, and he was even hinting at Black Adam being iterated by something. So interesting he had that talk.
Yeah, that's funny. He's accepting the memes and the comparisons.
Yeah, he's kind of caught on to the jokes around his movies, I think.
Yeah. If you can't laugh at yourself, what's the point, I guess?
Yeah, that's something I like about the guy too. He doesn't always take himself too seriously.
Well, think about all the crap he gets for that fanny pack picture.
Yeah, especially when Kevin Hart comes to his house.
That is the most hilarious video I have seen in a while. That was funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
So yeah, he's willing to rip on himself in the name of fun, and that's pretty cool. But all right, well, I'm going to let you go here, Vin. LBB, we'll catch up on Dynasty once he gets back.
Alrighty.
So I appreciate the time and the input on Black Adam, and next time you get to come down, we'll see what else we can put together.
No problem. I enjoyed being here, and it was nice to chat about Black Adam.
Yeah, I know.
I still got to watch it.
Yeah, I know. We've been holding our tongues for the last week on this, trying not to spoil the podcast too much.
Yeah, I was honestly worried I wasn't even.
I was a little worried too when you told me that your leave got canceled, but you got it sorted out. You got to see it. You still didn't get your leave, but at least you got to see it.
Yep, but who knows? Maybe I'll be down next 4 day they put in, and we can do something then.
All right. We'll see what's what, and we'll play it by ear. Scolio's coming to town soon, so maybe the four of us can get together and do something, or me, you, and Scolio can sit around and talk about Apex, because they've got a new season starting next week at the 1st of November, and they're bringing in a new map and a new character with new abilities.
Yeah, I actually haven't been playing, just waiting for the new season, because I'm kind of ashamed how well I've played this season.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to restart on the new one.
I didn't play for nearly a month just because I got busy with stuff, but I got back into it this week, starting playing with Scolio a little bit. But if he's going to be here, he's going to be here right after that new season launches. So he and I will have a little bit of time to actually explore the new map and the new character a little bit, and maybe you can find some time to explore a little bit, and we can all sit around and talk pros and cons of that, because that new character looks interesting as hell.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it, but I'll probably play it some whenever it comes out. I've already been kind of looking at it, but I've been on Nexomon and One Punch Man, so.
Yeah. Well, I finished Diofield Chronicles a little faster than what I expected. Pokemon's not out for another 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm going to fill my time with Apex.
Fair enough. Have you played Nexomon?
I played it, well, I can't remember if it was Nexomon or the precursor to Nexomon. There was one of them like that on my iPad several years ago that I played, and I actually got LBB and Scolio into playing, and they've kind of grown and gone to some of the spin-offs for that.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't. I haven't played anything like that recently.
It was only $9.99 on the PS5 store, so
Yeah.
I've been playing that. And then I heard about Temtem, so it's supposedly a big Pokemon knockoff, and it's on Switch. It apparently came out last year for Switch. And it's a big MMO Pokemon ripoff.
Well, so according to Lord Brad, it came out on the Switch just very recently. It dropped
really?
on the PlayStation 5 last year, and it dropped on Steam, I think he said last year. But they were doing like GoFundMe and Kickstarter campaigns to get money for it, and they were having challenges getting Nintendo to accept it to put on the eStore, from what he was saying. So it didn't come to the Switch until much later than those other ones because they had to go and do more stuff before Nintendo would accept it.
Yeah, so I got it right now. December 8th of 2020 was PS5. September 6th of this year was when it came out for Switch.
Yeah, see, so that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
And Lord Brad may know more details of it, because when you mentioned that game to me earlier today, I just went and asked him about it, and we had, a 2-minute conversation before I had to jump on a meeting.
Yeah, Lord Brad had to tell me about it too, because I was like, I've heard of it, I've seen stuff on it, and I might want to play it.
Yeah, but on the Switch store, it's not a cheap game. It's almost the price of a regular AAA game, and I'm not going to sink $50-$60 into a Pokemon-like game 3 weeks before Pokemon drops.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was talking about prior to, because I'm only going to have Pokemon, Dragon Quest, and then Fire Emblem. After that, unless R2 pops up, I'm going to be chilling on games after that.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get through Pokemon and Fire Emblem. I'm gonna get through all of my games that I've already got lined up before I worry about picking up anything else new right now.
Yeah, that's fine. They're all coming out pretty close. But
yeah.
We can get out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go eat me some food. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, me too.
But anyhow, well, thanks for the chat. I appreciate it.
No problem. I'll come back for another one.
We'll let you know.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Nerd Shit. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/LordBradBrad to see when new episodes drop. Or you can find our channel on YouTube. Just search Lord Brad and look for our logo. You can listen to all of your favorite episodes of Nerd Shit directly from our website, www.lordbradbrad.com, where you can also learn a little bit more about us and the products we use and reference on the show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to donate to the show, we gladly accept donations at coffee.com/LordBradBrad. That's coffee, spelled ko-fi.com/LordBradBrad. Or you can just click the link at the bottom of our website. If you have any comments on anything discussed in this episode or would like to suggest a topic you would like to hear us talk about in a future episode, hit us up on our Facebook page. Again, that's facebook.com/LordBradBrad. Until next time, this is Riorik signing off and telling you to keep doing that nerd shit because you know we will.